Welcome to today's Triple Z. The Triple Z podcast is a daily program that you can use to help you fall asleep each night. Just turn down the volume, lay back, relax, and enjoy as you fall asleep. We saw that our podcast was topping the charts in Slovakia, so we are going to read their Wikipedia entry. Let's learn about this interesting country in the dullest way possible. If you enjoy our program, please be sure to write us a review on your podcast platform and share us with a friend. You both might sleep just a little better at night. Our website is Triple Z, that's 3zs.media. You can also like and share our content on Facebook or our Instagram account ZZZ Media Podcast. Music for today's episode was provided by the Sleep channel on Spotify. Slovakia, officially the Slovak Republic, Slovenska Republika, is a landlocked country in Central Europe. It is bordered by Poland to the north, Ukraine to the east, Hungary to the south, Austria to the southwest, and the Czech Republic to the northwest. Slovakia's mostly mountainous territory spans about 49,000 square kilometers, 19,000 square miles, with a population of over 5.4 million. The capital and largest city is Bratislava, while the second largest city is Košice. The Slavs arrived in the territory of present-day Slovakia in the 5th and 6th centuries. In the 7th century, they played a significant role in the creation of Samos Empire. In the 9th century, they established the Principality of Nitra, which was later conquered by the Principality of Moravia to establish Great Moravia. In the 10th century, after the dissolution of Great Moravia, the territory was integrated into the Principality of Hungary, which then became the Kingdom of Hungary in 1000. In 1241 and 1242, after the Mongol invasion of Europe, much of the territory was destroyed. The area was recovered largely thanks to Bela IV of Hungary, who also settled Germans, leading them to become an important ethnic group in the area, especially in what are today parts of central and eastern Slovakia. After World War I and the dissolution of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the state of Czechoslovakia was established. It was the only country in Central and Eastern Europe to remain a democracy during the interwar period. Nevertheless, local fascist parties gradually came to power in the Slovak lands, and the First Slovak Republic existed during World War II as a partially recognized client state of Nazi Germany. At the end of World War II, Czechoslovakia was re-established as an independent country. After a coup in 1948, Czechoslovakia came under communist administration and became a part of the Soviet-led Eastern Bloc. Attempts to liberalize communism in Czechoslovakia culminated in the Prague Spring, which was crushed by the Warsaw Pact invasion of Czechoslovakia in August 1968. In 1989, the Velvet Revolution peacefully ended the communist rule in Czechoslovakia. Slovakia became an independent state on January 1, 1993, after the peaceful dissolution of Czechoslovakia, sometimes known as the Velvet Divorce. Slovakia is a developed country with an advanced high-income economy. The country maintains a combination of a market economy with a comprehensive social security system, providing citizens with universal health care, free education, and one of the longest paid parental leaves in the OECD. Slovakia is a member of the European Union, the Eurozone, the Schengen area, the United Nations, NATO, CERN, the OECD, the WTO, the Council of Europe, the Visegrad Group, and the OSCE. Slovakia is also home to 8 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The world's largest per capita car producer, Slovakia manufactured a total of 1.1 million cars in 2019, representing 43% of its total industrial output. Slovakia's name in theory means the land of the Slavs, Slovensko in Slovak, stemming from the older form Sloven/Slovianen. As such, it is a cognate of the words Slovenia and Slavonia. In medieval Latin, German, and even some Slavic sources, the same name has often been used for Slovaks, Slovenes, Slavonians, and Slavs in general. According to one of the theories, a new form of national name formed for the ancestors of the Slovaks between the 13th and 14th century, possibly due to foreign influence, the Czech word Slovak, in medieval sources from 1291 onward. This form slowly replaced the name for the male members of the community, but the female name, Slovenka, reference to the lands inhabited, Slovensko, and the name of the language, Slovencina, all remain the same, with their base in the older form, compared to Slovenian counterparts. Most foreign translations tend to stem from this newer form, Slovakia in English, Slovakia in German, Slovakia in French, etc. In medieval Latin sources, terms Slavus, Slavonia, or Slavorum, and more variants, from as early as 1029, have been used. In German sources, names for the Slovak lands were Windenland or Windischland, early 15th century, with the forms Slovakia and Slowakia starting to appear in the 16th century. The present Slovak form Slovensko is first attested in the year 1675. The oldest surviving human artifacts from Slovakia are found near Nové Mesto nad Váhom and are dated at 270,000 BCE in the early Paleolithic era. These ancient tools, made by the Clactonian technique, bear witness to the ancient habitation of Slovakia. Other stone tools from the Middle Paleolithic era, 200,000 to 80,000 BCE, come from the Prevet, Propostska, cave in Bojnes and from other nearby sites. The most important discovery from that era is a Neanderthal cranium, c. 200,000 BCE, discovered near Ganevs, a village in northern Slovakia. Archaeologists have found prehistoric human skeletons in the region, as well as numerous objects and vestiges of the Gravettian culture, principally in the river valleys of Nitra, Ron, Eipel, Va, and as far as the city of Zelina, and near the foot of the Vierlat, Inuvik, and Tribec mountains, as well as in the Mojave Mountains. The most well-known finds include the oldest female statue made of mammoth bone, 22,800 BCE, the famous Venus of Morvany. The statue was found in the 1940s in Morvany nad Váhom near Pistany. Numerous necklaces made of shells from Sapraka thermophile gastropods of the Tertiary period have come from the sites of Zakowska, Podkovice, Habina, and Radicina. These findings provide the most ancient evidence of commercial exchanges carried out between the Mediterranean and Central Europe. During the Bronze Age, the geographical territory of modern-day Slovakia went through 3 stages of development, stretching from 2000 to 800 BCE. Major cultural, economic, and political development can be attributed to the significant growth in production of copper, especially in central Slovakia, for example in Spania Dolina and northwest Slovakia. Copper became a stable source of prosperity for the local population. After the disappearance of the Kakanni and Velitis cultures, the Lusatian people expanded building of strong and complex fortifications with the large permanent buildings and administrative centers. Excavations of Lusatian hill forts document the substantial development of trade and agriculture at that period. The richness and diversity of tombs increased considerably. The inhabitants of the area manufactured arms, shields, jewelry, dishes, and statues. The arrival of tribes from Thrace disrupted the people of the Kalanderberg culture, who lived in the hamlets located on the plain, Seared, and in the hill forts like Malper, near Smolensk, in the Little Carpathians. During Hallstatt times, monumental burial mounds were erected in western Slovakia, with princely equipment consisting of richly decorated vessels, ornaments, and decorations. The burial rites consisted entirely of cremation. Common people were buried in flat urnfield cemeteries. A special role was given to weaving and the production of textiles. The local power of the princes of the Hallstatt period disappeared in Slovakia during the century before the middle of 1st millennium BC, after strife between the Scytho-Thracian people and locals, resulting in abandonment of the old hill forts. Relatively depopulated areas soon caught the interest of emerging Celtic tribes, who advanced from the south towards the north, following the Slovak rivers, peacefully integrating into the remnants of the local population. From around 500 BCE, the territory of modern-day Slovakia was settled by Celts, who built powerful oppida on the sites of modern-day Bratislava and Devon. Biotechs, silver coins with inscriptions in the Latin alphabet, represent the first known use of writing in Slovakia. At the northern regions, remnants of the local population of Lusatian origin, together with Celtic and later Dacian influence, gave rise to the unique Puja culture, with advanced crafts and ironworking, many hill forts, and fortified settlements of central type with the coinage of the Velkobystricki type, no inscriptions, with a horse on one side and a head on the other. This culture is often connected with the Celtic tribe mentioned in Roman sources as Caini. From 2 AD, the expanding Roman Empire established and maintained a series of outposts around and just south of the Danube, the largest of which were known as Carnuntum, whose remains are on the main road halfway between Vienna and Bratislava, and Brzezo, present-day Sony at the Slovak-Hungarian border. Such Roman border settlements were built on the present area of Rzeszów, currently a suburb of Bratislava. The military fort was surrounded by a civilian vicus and several farms of the Villa Rustica type. The name of this settlement was Geriolata. The military fort had an auxiliary cavalry unit, approximately 300 horses strong, modeled after the Cananifates. The remains of Roman buildings have also survived in Stopava, Devon Castle, Bratislava Castle Hill, and the Bratislava Dubravka suburb. Near the northernmost line of the Roman hinterlands, the Limes Romanus, there existed the winter camp of Logoratio, modern-day Trenčín, where the auxiliary of Legion II fought and prevailed in a decisive battle over the Germanic Quadi tribe in 179 CE during the Marcomannic Wars. The Kingdom of Vannius, a kingdom founded by the Germanic Suebi tribes of Quadi and Marcomanni, as well as several small Germanic and Celtic tribes, including the Osi and Kaini, existed in western and central Slovakia from 8 to 6 BCE to 179 CE. In the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, the Huns began to leave the Central Asian steppes. They crossed the Danube in 377 AD and occupied Pannonia, which they used for 75 years as their base for launching looting raids into Western Europe. However, Attila's death in 453 brought about the disappearance of the Hunnic Empire. In 568, a Turco-Mongol tribal confederacy, the Avars, conducted its invasion into the Middle Danube region. The Avars occupied the lowlands of the Pannonian Plain and established an empire dominating the Carpathian Basin. In 623, the Slavic population living in the western parts of Pannonia seceded from their empire after a revolution led by Samo, a Frankish merchant. After 626, the Avar power started a gradual decline, but its reign lasted to 804. The Slavic tribes settled in the territory of present-day Slovakia in the 5th century. Western Slovakia was the center of Samo's empire in the 7th century. A Slavic state known as the Principality of Nitra arose in the 8th century, and its ruler Probina had the first known Christian church of the territory of present-day Slovakia consecrated by 828. Together with neighboring Moravia, the principality formed the core of the Great Moravian Empire from 833. The high point of this Slavonic empire came with the arrival of Saint Cyril and Methodius in 863 during the reign of Duke Rastislav and the territorial expansion under King Svatopluk I. Great Moravia arose around 830 when Mochmira unified the Slavic tribes settled north of the Danube and extended the Moravian supremacy over them. When Mochmira endeavored to secede from the supremacy of the King of East Francia in 846, King Louis the German deposed him and assisted Mochmira's nephew Rastislav, 846 to 870, in acquiring the throne. The new monarch pursued an independent policy. After stopping a Frankish attack in 855, he also sought to weaken the influence of Frankish priests preaching in his realm. Duke Rastislav asked the Byzantine Emperor Michael III to send teachers who would interpret Christianity in the Slavic vernacular. On Rastislav's request, two brothers, Byzantine officials and missionaries Saint Cyril and Methodius came in 863. Cyril developed the first Slavic alphabet and translated the Gospel into the Old Church Slavonic language. Rastislav was also preoccupied with the security and administration of his state. Numerous fortified castles built throughout the country are dated to his reign, and some of them, e.g. Dalina, sometimes identified with Devon Castle, are also mentioned in connection with Rastislav by Frankish chronicles. During Rastislav's reign, the Principality of Nitra was given to his nephew Svatopluk as an appanage. The rebellious prince allied himself with the Franks and overthrew his uncle in 870. Similarly to his predecessor, Svatopluk I, 871 to 894, assumed the title of the king, Rex. During his reign, the Great Moravian Empire reached its greatest territorial extent, when not only present-day Moravia and Slovakia but also present-day northern and central Hungary, Lower Austria, Bohemia, Silesia, Lusatia, southern Poland and northern Serbia belonged to the empire, but the exact borders of his domains are still disputed by modern authors. Svatopluk also withstood attacks of the Magyar tribes and the Bulgarian Empire, although sometimes it was he who hired the Magyars when waging war against East Francia. In 880, Pope John VIII set up an independent ecclesiastical province in Great Moravia with Archbishop Methodius as its head. He also named the German cleric Wiching the Bishop of Nitra. After the death of Prince Svatopluk in 894, his sons Mochmir II, 894 to 906, and Svatopluk II succeeded him as the Prince of Great Moravia and the Prince of Nitra respectively. However, they started to quarrel for domination of the whole empire. Weakened by an internal conflict as well as by constant warfare with Eastern Francia, Great Moravia lost most of its peripheral territories. In the meantime, the semi-nomadic Magyar tribes, possibly having suffered defeat from the similarly nomadic Pechenegs, left their territories east of the Carpathian Mountains, invaded the Carpathian Basin, and started to occupy the territory gradually around 896. Their army's advance may have been promoted by continuous wars among the countries of the region whose rulers still hired them occasionally to intervene in their struggles. It is not known what happened with both Mochmir II and Svatopluk II because they are not mentioned in written sources after 906. In three battles, 4 to 5 July and August 9, 907, near Bratislava, the Magyars routed Bavarian armies. Some historians put this year as the date of the breakup of the Great Moravian Empire due to the Hungarian conquest. Other historians take the date a little bit earlier, to 902. Great Moravia left behind a lasting legacy in Central and Eastern Europe. The Glagolitic script and its successor Cyrillic were disseminated to other Slavic countries, charting a new path in their socio-cultural development. Following the disintegration of the Great Moravian Empire at the turn of the 10th century, the Hungarians annexed the territory comprising modern Slovakia. After their defeat on the River Lech, the Hungarians abandoned their nomadic ways and settled in the center of the Carpathian Valley, slowly adopting Christianity, and began to build a new state, the Hungarian Kingdom. In the years 1001 to 1002 and 1018 to 1029, Slovakia was part of the Kingdom of Poland, having been conquered by Boleslaus I the Brave. After the territory of Slovakia was returned to Hungary, a semi-autonomous polity continued to exist, or was created in 1048 by King Andrew I, called Duchy of Nitra. Comprising roughly the territory of Principality of Nitra and Bihar Principality, they formed what was called a Tertia Pars Regni, third of a kingdom. This polity existed up until 1108/1110, after which it was not restored. After this, until the year 1918, when the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed, the territory of Slovakia was an integral part of the Hungarian state. The ethnic composition of Slovakia became more diverse with the arrival of the Carpathian Germans in the 13th century and the Jews in the 14th century. A significant decline in the population resulted from the invasion of the Mongols in 1241 and the subsequent famine. However, in medieval times the area of Slovakia was characterized by German and Jewish immigration, burgeoning towns, construction of numerous stone castles, and the cultivation of the arts. The arrival of German elements sometimes proved a problem for the autochthonous Slovaks and even Hungarians in the broader Hungary, since they often quickly gained most power in medieval towns, only to later refuse to share it. Breaking of old customs by Germans often resulted in national quarrels, one of which had to be sorted out by the King Louis I. With the proclamation Privilegium pro Slavis, privilege for Slovaks, in the year 1381. According to this privilege, Slovaks and Germans were to occupy each half of the seats in the city council of Zelena, and the mayor should be elected each year, alternating between those nationalities. This would not be the last such case. In 1465, King Matthias Corvinus founded the Hungarian Kingdom's third university in Pressburg, Bratislava, but it was closed in 1490 after his death. Hussites also settled in the region after the Hussite Wars. Owing to the Ottoman Empire's expansion into Hungarian territory, Bratislava was designated the new capital of Hungary in 1536, ahead of the fall of the old Hungarian capital of Buda in 1541. It became part of the Austrian Habsburg monarchy, marking the beginning of a new era. The territory comprising modern Slovakia, then known as Upper Hungary, became the place of settlement for nearly two-thirds of the Magyar nobility fleeing the Turks, and became far more linguistically and culturally Hungarian than it was before. Partly thanks to old Hussite families and Slovaks studying under Martin Luther, the region then experienced a growth in Protestantism. For a short period in the 17th century, most Slovaks were Lutherans. They defied the Catholic Habsburgs and sought protection from neighboring Transylvania, a rival continuation of the Magyar state that practiced religious tolerance and normally had Ottoman backing. Upper Hungary, modern Slovakia, became the site of frequent wars between Catholics in the West Territory and Protestants in the East, as well as against Turks. The frontier was on a constant state of military alert and heavily fortified by castles and citadels, often manned by Catholic German and Slovak troops on the Habsburg side. By 1648, Slovakia was not spared the Counter-Reformation, which brought the majority of its population from Lutheranism back to Roman Catholicism. In 1655, the printing press at the Trnava University produced the Jesuit Benedict Chalassi's Cantus Catholici, a Catholic hymnal in Slovak that reaffirmed links to the earlier works of Cyril and Methodius. The Ottoman Wars, the rivalry between Austria and Transylvania, and the frequent insurrections against the Habsburg monarchy inflicted a great deal of devastation, especially in the rural areas. In the Austro-Turkish War, 1663–1664, a Turkish army led by the Grand Vizier decimated Slovakia. Even so, Thocles Kyrgyz rebels from the Principality of Upper Hungary fought alongside the Turks against the Austrians and Poles at the Battle of Vienna of 1683, led by John III Sobieski. As the Turks withdrew from Hungary in the late 17th century, the importance of the territory composing modern Slovakia decreased, although Pressburg retained its status as the capital of Hungary until 1848, when it was transferred back to Buda. During the Revolution of 1848–49, the Slovaks supported the Austrian Emperor, hoping for independence from the Hungarian part of the dual monarchy, but they failed to achieve their aim. Thereafter, relations between the nationalities deteriorated, see Magyarization, culminating in the secession of Slovakia from Hungary after World War I. On October 18, 1918, Tomáš Garriga Masaryk, Milan Rastislav Stefanik, and Edvard Beneš declared in Washington, D.C. the independence for the territories of Bohemia, Moravia, Silesia, Upper Hungary, and Carpathian Ruthenia from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and proclaimed a common state, Czechoslovakia. In 1919, during the chaos following the breakup of Austria-Hungary, Czechoslovakia was formed with numerous Germans, Slovaks, Hungarians, and Ruthenians within the newly set borders. The borders were set by the Treaty of Saint-Germain and Treaty of Trianon. In the peace following the World War, Czechoslovakia emerged as a sovereign European state. It provided what were at the time rather extensive rights to its minorities. During the interwar period, democratic Czechoslovakia was allied with France and also with Romania and Yugoslavia, Little Entente. However, the Locarno Treaties of 1925 left East European security open. Both Czechs and Slovaks enjoyed a period of relative prosperity. There was progress in not only the development of the country's economy but also culture and educational opportunities. Yet the Great Depression caused a sharp economic downturn, followed by political disruption and insecurity in Europe. In the 1930s, Czechoslovakia came under continuous pressure from the revanchist governments of Germany, Hungary, and Poland, who used the aggrieved minorities in the country as a useful vehicle. Revision of the borders was called for, as Czechs constituted only 43% of the population. Eventually, this pressure led to the Munich Agreement of September 1938, which allowed the majority ethnic Germans in the Sudetenland, borderlands of Czechoslovakia, to join with Germany. The remaining minorities stepped up their pressures for autonomy, and the state became federalized, with diets in Slovakia and Ruthenia. The remainder of Czechoslovakia was renamed Czechoslovakia and promised a greater degree of Slovak political autonomy. This, however, failed to materialize. Parts of southern and eastern Slovakia were also reclaimed by Hungary at the First Vienna Award of November 1938. After the Munich Agreement and its Vienna Award, Nazi Germany threatened to annex part of Slovakia and allow the remaining regions to be partitioned by Hungary or Poland unless independence was declared. Thus, Slovakia seceded from Czechoslovakia in March 1939 and allied itself, as demanded by Germany, with Hitler's coalition. Secession had created the first Slovak state in history. The government of the First Slovak Republic, led by Josef Tiso and Wojciech Tuka, was strongly influenced by Germany and gradually became a puppet regime in many respects. Meanwhile, the Czechoslovak government in exile sought to reverse the Munich Agreement and the subsequent German occupation of Czechoslovakia and to return the republic to its 1937 boundaries. The government operated from London, and it was ultimately considered, by those countries that recognized it, the legitimate government for Czechoslovakia throughout the Second World War. As part of the Holocaust in Slovakia, 75,000 Jews out of 80,000 who remained on Slovak territory after Hungary had seized southern regions were deported and taken to German death camps. Thousands of Jews, Gypsies, and other politically undesirable people remained in Slovak forced labor camps in Sird, Vine, and Nováky. Tiso, through the granting of presidential exceptions, allowed between 1,000 and 4,000 people crucial to the war economy to avoid deportations. Under Tiso's government and Hungarian occupation, the vast majority of Slovakia's pre-war Jewish population, between 75,000 and 105,000 individuals, including those who perished from the occupied territory, were murdered. The Slovak state paid Germany 500 RM per every deported Jew for retraining and accommodation. A similar but smaller payment of 30 RM was paid by Croatia. After it became clear that the Soviet Red Army was going to push the Nazis out of Eastern and Central Europe, an anti-Nazi resistance movement launched a fierce armed insurrection known as the Slovak National Uprising near the end of summer 1944. A bloody German occupation and a guerrilla war followed. Germans and their local collaborators completely destroyed 93 villages and massacred thousands of civilians, often hundreds at a time. The territory of Slovakia was liberated by Soviet and Romanian forces by the end of April 1945. After World War II, Czechoslovakia was reconstituted and Josef Tiso was executed in 1947 for collaboration with the Nazis. More than 80,000 Hungarians and 32,000 Germans were forced to leave Slovakia in a series of population transfers initiated by the Allies at the Potsdam Conference. Out of about 130,000 Carpathian Germans in Slovakia in 1938, by 1947 only some 20,000 remained. The NKVD arrested and deported over 20,000 people to Siberia as a result of the Yalta Conference. Czechoslovakia came under the influence and later under direct occupation of the Soviet Union and its Warsaw Pact after a coup in 1948. 8,240 people went to forced labor camps in 1948 to 1953. In 1968, following the Prague Spring, the country was invaded by the Warsaw Pact forces, People's Republic of Bulgaria, People's Republic of Hungary, People's Republic of Poland, and Soviet Union, with the exception of Socialist Republic of Romania and People's Socialist Republic of Albania, ending a period of liberalization under the leadership of Alexander Dubček. 137 Czechoslovak civilians were killed and 500 seriously wounded during the occupation. In 1969, Czechoslovakia became a federation of the Czech Socialist Republic and the Slovak Socialist Republic and the Czechoslovak Socialist Republic. It became a puppet state of the Soviet Union, but it was never part of the Soviet Union and remained independent to a certain degree. Borders with the West were protected by the Iron Curtain. About 600 people, men, women, and children, were killed on the Czechoslovak border with Austria and West Germany between 1948 and 1989. The end of communist rule in Czechoslovakia in 1989 during the peaceful Velvet Revolution was followed once again by the country's dissolution, this time into two successor states. The word socialist was dropped in the names of the two republics, with the Slovak Socialist Republic renamed as Slovak Republic. On July 17, 1992, Slovakia, led by Prime Minister Vladimir Maciar, declared itself a sovereign state, meaning that its laws took precedence over those of the federal government. Throughout the autumn of 1992, Maciar and Czech Prime Minister Václav Klaus negotiated the details for disbanding the federation. In November, the federal parliament voted to dissolve the country officially on December 31, 1992. The Slovak Republic and the Czech Republic went their separate ways after January 1, 1993, an event sometimes called the Velvet Divorce. Slovakia has, nevertheless, remained a close partner with the Czech Republic. Both countries cooperate with Hungary and Poland in the Visegrad Group. Slovakia became a member of NATO on March 29, 2004 and of the European Union on May 1, 2004. On January 1, 2009, Slovakia adopted the euro as its national currency. In 2019, Zuzana Čaputová became Slovakia's first female president. Slovakia lies between latitudes 47 degrees and 50 degrees north and longitudes 16 degrees and 23 degrees east. The Slovak landscape is noted primarily for its mountainous nature, with the Carpathian Mountains extending across most of the northern half of the country. Among these mountain ranges are the high peaks of the Fatra-Tatra area, including Tatra Mountains, Greater Fatra and Lesser Fatra, Slovak or Mountains, Slovak Central Mountains or Beskids. The largest lowland is the fertile Danubian lowland in the southwest, followed by the eastern Slovak lowland in the southeast. Forests cover 41% of Slovak land surface. The Tatra Mountains, with 29 peaks higher than 2,500 meters, 8,202 feet AMSL, are the highest mountain range in the Carpathian Mountains. The Tatras occupy an area of 750 square kilometers, 290 square miles, of which the greater part 600 square kilometers, 232 square miles, lies in Slovakia. They are divided into several parts. To the north, close to the Polish border, are the High Tatras, which are a popular hiking and skiing destination and home to many scenic lakes and valleys, as well as the highest point in Slovakia, the Gerlachovsky Stit at 2,655 meters, 8,711 feet, and the country's highly symbolic mountain Krivan. To the west are the Western Tatras with their highest peak of Bystra at 2,248 meters, 7,375 feet, and to the east are the Belyansk Tatras, smallest by area. Separated from the Tatras proper by the valley of the Var River are the Low Tatras, with their highest peak of Dumir at 2,043 meters, 6,703 feet. The Tatra mountain range is represented as one of the three hills on the coat of arms of Slovakia. There are 9 national parks in Slovakia, covering 6.5% of the Slovak land surface. Slovakia has hundreds of caves and caverns under its mountains, of which 30 are open to the public. Most of the caves have stalagmites rising from the ground and stalactites hanging from above. There are currently 5 Slovak caves under UNESCO's World Heritage Site status. They are Dobsna Ice Cave, Domica, Gombasek Cave, Jasovska Cave, and Oktinska Raganite Cave. Other caves open to the public include Belyanska Cave, Dymanovska Cave of Liberty, Dymanovska Ice Cave, or Bystrianska Cave. Most of the rivers arise in the Slovak mountains. Some only pass through Slovakia, while others make a natural border with surrounding countries more than 620 kilometers. For example, the Dunajec, 17 kilometers to the north, the Danube, 172 kilometers to the south, or the Morava, 119 kilometers to the west. The total length of the rivers on Slovak territory is 49,774 kilometers, 30,928 miles. The longest river in Slovakia is the Vav, 403 kilometers. The shortest is the Sierra Voda. Other important and large rivers are the Mahava, the Nitra, 197 kilometers, the Orava, the Ron, 298 kilometers, the Hornad, 193 kilometers, the Slana, 110 kilometers, the Ipel, 232 kilometers, forming the border with Hungary, the Bodrog, the Labrek, the Latorica, and the Ondava. The biggest volume of discharge in Slovak rivers is during spring, when the snow melts from the mountains. The only exception is the Danube, whose discharge is the greatest during summer when the snow melts in the Alps. The Danube is the largest river that flows through Slovakia. The Slovak climate lies between the temperate and continental climate zones with relatively warm summers and cold, cloudy, and humid winters. Temperature extremes are between -41 and 40.3 degrees Celsius, -41.8 and 104.5 degrees Fahrenheit, although temperatures below -30 degrees Celsius, -22 degrees Fahrenheit are rare. The weather differs from the mountainous north to the plains in the south. The warmest region is Bratislava and southern Slovakia, where the temperatures may reach 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit in summer, occasionally to 39 degrees Celsius, 102 degrees Fahrenheit in Urbanovo. During night, the temperatures drop to 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The daily temperatures in winter average in the range of -5 degrees Celsius, 23 degrees Fahrenheit to 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. During night it may be freezing, but usually not below -10 degrees Celsius, 14 degrees Fahrenheit. In Slovakia, there are 4 seasons. Each season, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, lasts 3 months. The dry continental air brings in the summer heat and winter frosts. In contrast, oceanic air brings rainfalls and reduces summer temperatures. In the lowlands and valleys, there is often fog, especially in winter. Spring starts with March 21st and is characterized by colder weather with an average daily temperature of 9 degrees Celsius, 48 degrees Fahrenheit in the first weeks, and about 14 degrees Celsius, 57 degrees Fahrenheit in May, and 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit in June. In Slovakia, the weather and climate in the spring are very unstable. Summer starts on June 22nd and is usually characterized by hot weather with daily temperatures exceeding 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. July is the warmest month with temperatures up to about 37 to 40 degrees Celsius, 99 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, especially in regions of southern Slovakia in the urban area of Komárno, Urbanovo, or Starovo. Showers or thunderstorms may occur because of the summer monsoon called Medardova Kvapka, Medad drop 40 days of rain. Summer in northern Slovakia is usually mild with temperatures around 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit, less in the mountains. Autumn in Slovakia starts on September 23rd and is mostly characterized by wet weather and wind, although the first weeks can be very warm and sunny. The average temperature in September is around 14 degrees Celsius 57 degrees Fahrenheit, in November to 3 degrees Celsius 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Late September and early October is a dry and sunny time of year, so-called Indian summer. Winter starts on December 21st with temperatures around -5 to -10 degrees Celsius, 23 to 14 degrees Fahrenheit. In December and January, it is usually snowing. These are the coldest months of the year. At lower altitudes, snow does not stay the whole winter. It changes into the thaw and frost. Winters are colder in the mountains, where the snow usually lasts until March or April, and the night temperatures fall to -20 degrees Celsius, -4 degrees Fahrenheit, and colder. Slovakia signed the Rio Convention on Biological Diversity on May 19, 1993, and became a party to the convention on August 25, 1994. It has subsequently produced a National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, which was received by the convention on November 2, 1998. The biodiversity of Slovakia comprises animals such as annelids, arthropods, mollusks, nematodes and vertebrates, fungi, ascomycota, basidiomycota, chytridiomycota, glomeromycota, and zygomycota, microorganisms, including mycetozoa, and plants. The geographical position of Slovakia determines the richness of the diversity of fauna and flora. More than 11,000 plant species have been described throughout its territory, nearly 29,000 animal species, and over 1,000 species of protozoa. Endemic biodiversity is also common. Slovakia is located in the biome of temperate broadleaf and mixed forests and terrestrial ecoregions of Pannonian mixed forests and Carpathian montane conifer forests. As the altitude changes, the vegetation associations and animal communities are forming height levels: oak, beech, spruce, scrub pine, alpine meadows, and subsoil. Forests cover 44% of the territory of Slovakia. The country had a 2019 Forest Landscape Integrity Index mean score of 4.34/10, ranking at 129th globally out of 172 countries. In terms of forest stands, 60% are broadleaf trees and 40% are coniferous trees. The occurrence of animal species is strongly connected to the appropriate types of plant associations and biotopes. Over 4,000 species of fungi have been recorded from Slovakia. Of these, nearly 1,500 are lichen-forming species. Some of these fungi are undoubtedly endemic, but not enough is known to say how many. Of the lichen-forming species, about 40% have been classified as threatened in some way. About 7% are apparently extinct, 9% endangered, 17% vulnerable, and 7% rare. The conservation status of non-lichen-forming fungi in Slovakia is not well documented, but there is a red list for its larger fungi. Slovakia is a parliamentary democratic republic with a multi-party system. The last parliamentary elections were held on February 29, 2020, and 2 rounds of presidential elections took place on the 16th and the 30th of March 2019. The Slovak head of state and the formal head of the executive is the president, currently Zuzana Čaputová, the first female president, but with very limited powers. The president is elected by direct, popular vote under the 2-round system for a 5-year term. Most executive power lies with the head of government, the prime minister, currently Ludovic Oder, who is usually the leader of the winning party and who needs to form a majority coalition in the parliament. The prime minister is appointed by the president. The remainder of the cabinet is appointed by the president on the recommendation of the prime minister. Slovakia's highest legislative body is the 150-seat unicameral National Council of the Slovak Republic, Národná rada Slovenskej republiky. Delegates are elected for a 4-year term on the basis of proportional representation. Slovakia's highest judicial body is the Constitutional Court of Slovakia, Ústavný súd, which rules on constitutional issues. The 13 members of this court are appointed by the president from a slate of candidates nominated by parliament. The Constitution of the Slovak Republic was ratified September 1, 1992, and became effective January 1, 1993. It was amended in September 1998 to allow direct election of the president and again in February 2001 due to EU admission requirements. The civil law system is based on Austro-Hungarian codes. The legal code was modified to comply with the obligations of Organization on Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, and to expunge the Marxist-Leninist legal theory. Slovakia accepts the compulsory International Court of Justice jurisdiction with reservations. The Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs, Slovak, Ministerstvo zahraničných vecí a európskych záležitostí, is responsible for maintaining the Slovak Republic's external relations and the management of its international diplomatic missions. The ministry's director is Miroslav Lachovský. The ministry oversees Slovakia's affairs with foreign entities, including bilateral relations with individual nations and its representation in international organizations. Slovakia joined the European Union and NATO in 2004 and the Eurozone in 2009. Slovakia is a member of the United Nations since 1993 and participates in its specialized agencies. The country was, on October 10, 2005, elected to a 2-year term on the UN Security Council from 2006 to 2007. It is also a member of the Schengen Area, the Council of Europe, COE, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, the World Trade Organization, WTO, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, the Union for the Mediterranean, UFM, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, the Bucharest 9, B9, and part of the Visegrad Group, V4, Slovakia, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and Poland. In 2023, Slovak citizens had visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to 184 countries and territories, putting the Slovak passport at the 10th rank of travel freedom, tied with Lithuanian on the Henley Passport Index. Slovakia maintains diplomatic relations with 134 countries, primarily through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As of December 2013, Slovakia maintained 90 missions abroad, including 64 embassies, 7 missions to multilateral organizations, 9 consulates general, 1 consular office, 1 Slovak economic and cultural office, and 8 Slovak institutes. There are 44 embassies and 35 honorary consulates in Bratislava. Slovakia and the United States retain strong diplomatic ties and cooperate in the military and law enforcement areas. The U.S. Department of Defense programs has contributed significantly to Slovak military reforms. Around 1 million Americans have their roots in Slovakia, and many retain strong cultural and familial ties to the Slovak Republic. President Woodrow Wilson and the United States played a major role in the establishment of the original Czechoslovak state on October 28, 1918.